All right, so today we are doing attributes of square root functions, and we're just kind of building on what we did the other day when we were using the endpoint form for radicals. So if you remember, our endpoint form is y equals a times the square root of x minus h plus k. And so then our parent function is just y equals the square root of x. So when we look at this graph, we're just going to go through and label things. So this graph opens up. It has a minimum, and that minimum is right there at the start. So the minimum value is y equals 0. And then we also can label our endpoint as -4, 0. The y-intercept is where it hits right here. And so that would be when x is 0. And as we're looking at it, we can see that the y-intercept is at 0, 2. And our x-intercept is just the endpoint where we started at, -4, 0. So then when we're talking about domain and range, domain, remember, is all x's. So it starts at -4 and goes to infinity. And where you would say it's closed at -4, but opened at infinity. And then with the range, we go low to high, y values. So the lowest value is 0. It goes all the way up to infinity. It's always open at infinity, and it's closed at 0 because it's a closed point. So now as we're looking, we have a couple other questions. Give the minimum and maximum values over the specified interval of the graph above. So between 0 and 5. Now here is where you might want to take the time to actually decide what is the equation of this graph. And so we know it shifts left 4, and just by looking, we can see that when you go 1 over, it goes up 1. So that means the a value has not changed. So it's just going to be x plus 4 inside the square root symbol. So we can use that if we need it. So we know our lowest point from 0 to 5 is when it's at 0. When x is 0, it's 0 plus 4, or the square root of 4. It's just 2. And we say the highest point is at 5. And we plug in 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. So that's pretty simple. Now, when we have -2, when we plug in -2, so when it's in between here and here, we can see that -2 is the lowest point. And so when we plug in -2, that means we're going to have -2 plus 4, or just the square root of 2. And we can just leave it as the square root of 2. And the highest point is when it is at +2. So when we plug in +2, our maximum value is the square root of 6. So hopefully that isn't too difficult. Now let's flip it over. We have one more that we're going to go through. So flip over your page.